Hey, what's good, guys? It's Elkonn here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a bunch of trading tips to help you make a lot of profit. A lot of you have been asking me how I trade and how to even get good at trading in general. Well, I'm going to help you out, so do not worry. You should definitely get a good idea about trading and how to make a lot of profit by the end of this video. If you guys do end up enjoying this video, then make sure to smash the like button and click that subscribe button for more videos just like this one. Without further ado, let's get on into it. The first tip we're going to get into is using value lists. Now, a lot of people use them already, but if you don't, I'd recommend using 1, 2, 3 demands or cosmic values. Any other value lists except them two, I do not trust whatsoever, so I'd recommend just sticking with one of those two. Now, the reason I say use value lists is because they are super helpful, especially when it comes down to having a huge pet or some sort of item that you do not know the actual value of. Now, yes, there is a wrap value on pretty much every item nowadays, but a lot of those wrap values are completely wrong, and they can also be messed with as well. So I wouldn't trust wrap value exactly on what it says. So you can definitely go to one of those sites, look up your pet, and see the value. Now, I do not recommend using it exactly on what the value says, because a lot of them do actually change throughout the game before they can update the site. But I'd recommend just using it for a range of the value. So say I go ahead and look up my propeller cat and it said like 7 million or like 6.5 million. That would be a range of the value that I would put it up as. But I would not put my pet exactly up on my board for that value. So say my propeller cat once again was 7 million, I would put it up for 7.5 million. I always like to sell it more because people will buy it more no matter what, because a lot of people think of like inflation or deflation. If people think it's going to inflate, then they're definitely going to buy it 400, 500k over the actual value, sometimes even a mil. It just all depends on the huge pet or the actual item that you're selling. Now, when it comes down to like enchantment books and potions and stuff, I don't recommend trying to sell them too much higher than what they're actually worth, because a lot of them will not sell. Most people only overpay for like exclusives or mostly huge pets. So I'd recommend just putting them up for like maybe 10, 20k over or more, depending on how rare the potion or the enchantment actually is. So like I said, make sure to use the value list as an estimated price and not the exact value, because you could definitely make more profit if you go above the actual value and range it between there. The next tip that we're going to get into is how to predict inflation and deflation. Now, a lot of people have a massive problem with this and don't really know what to do when inflation or deflation actually happens. Inflation is when a huge pet or item keeps going up in value and selling for more than what it's actually worth. And then when it sells for more than what it's actually worth, it will actually become that new value. Deflation is pretty much the same thing, just the opposite, is when the pet gets sold less than what it's worth, making that the new value, and it just keeps dropping over and over, making it deflation. Now, when it comes down to predicting inflation and deflation, it is a little difficult, but it's also easy at the same time. So if you look at wrap value is a pretty good way to determine if inflation or deflation is going to happen. And a big way to actually look at that would be huge happy rocks. So huge happy rocks go up and down every single day, every hour. So it's pretty hard to predict where it's going to go. But if you look at the happy rock right now, the wrap value is 5.81. Now, if you see people buying them for above that wrap value, like 6 million consistently, and I'm not talking about just one person, I'm talking about multiple people buying them at 6 million at a time, that means that pet is going to eventually inflate in price and become 6 million instead of 5.8. Now, deflation is the same thing, just the opposite. So once again, if you look at the huge happy rock and it's at 5.8 and people are selling them for below that wrap value for like 5.6 million and people are buying them consistently, then that value is going to drop on the huge happy rock, and instead of 5.8 million, it's going to become 5.6 million. It's pretty easy to determine when inflation and deflation is going to happen for that specific item or just a bunch of items or pets in general. If you see a bunch of people buying huges for more than what the actual wrap value is, or even their value in general, then you know it's going to inflate to that price or just a little bit higher than what they're buying it at. And then the same thing goes with deflation. If you see a bunch of huges selling below the wrap value or their actual value, then they are going to drop to that new value, making it deflate in the price and the value. So just make sure to be careful when you're trying to predict inflation and deflation, because you could make the wrong decision and buy a pet when it's actually deflating, thinking it's going to inflate in price. So just be careful and make sure to focus a lot on wrap value, because it will help you a good bit when it comes down to that. The next tip they're going to get into is buying stuff cheaper and selling it for more. So if you go around and you find a pet that's less than the wrap value by a good bit, or less than the actual valueless value, then I would recommend buying it. But you also got to keep in mind that it could be deflating, and that's the reason people are selling it that low. You got to make sure you pay attention as much as you possibly can when it comes down to what people are selling that huge or item for specifically, so you do not make the wrong decision. Now, for example, this person right here is selling a rainbow huge happy rock for 18.5 million, and the wrap is only 18.3. Now, that doesn't determine the actual value of that pet, because that wrap value can change pretty much every hour. It just all depends on what people are buying them at and what they're selling them at. Now, if I was to jump around right now into different servers and look for the exact same pet and say that people are selling it below the wrap value and people are buying them, then I do not want to buy it higher than the wrap value, or even at the wrap value in general, because it's going to drop. Now, if I looked around and saw a bunch of people selling the rainbow huge happy rocks for like 19 million, 19.5, just above the wrap value, then yes, I would be buying it, because it's going to inflate, making it worth more than what it is right now, and then you can sell it for more when it rises. But when it comes down to buying stuff under wrap value or buying it supposedly cheaper, it's definitely a huge risk, because you could either buy it at that point where it's under that value and it could drop down to the value to basically where you paid an equal amount for it, making no profit. Now, even if you buy a pet at the exact value, you can always sell it for more, and people will always buy it for more, unless it's obviously deflating, but 90% of the time they're not going to be, so you'll probably make profit no matter what. Now, when it comes down to me buying stuff, I always buy stuff pretty much under the value or under the wrap value, if I know the wrap value is stable, of course. If it's not stable, then I do not risk it, and I pretty much just go on with another pet or item that I'm looking for. But for instance, if this guy right now was selling this huge happy rock for 5 million, I would instantly buy it, because I know for sure if I flip this huge happy rock right now for the exact wrap value, or just put it up for more than what I actually paid for, I can easily sell it no problem and make profit. But that's the whole aspect of trading. You can either do a high risk, high reward, or a high risk and no reward whatsoever. So you just got to be careful when it comes down to wrap. Pay attention on what's actually happening around you and what people are buying stuff for, and you should be able to make the right decision at that point in moment. Now, another tip that we're going to get into is going to involve the wrap value. Now, I know I've been talking a lot about the wrap value, but wrap value is super important, especially nowadays. Now, if you have a pet right now that you did not buy, you pretty much hatched, or say you bought it really cheap back then and you're trying to sell it now, I would definitely go off of the wrap value, but do not sell it for the exact wrap value, because you could definitely make more. People make this mistake all the time, and I tell them over and over, do not sell it for the exact wrap value. You can always, and I mean always, sell it for more, because people will always buy it for more. If you go right now and jump servers for a specific wrap value pet or item that you're looking for, you will not see many people selling it for wrap value whatsoever. They always sell it for a lot more than the wrap value, because people will buy it. That's just how the economy works in Pets in 99. People will buy stuff even though it's way over. That's because they think 90% of the time that it's going to rise, which they are correct. A lot of huges do rise, but they also deflate as well, or maybe they just want it for their team. It doesn't really matter. People will buy it no matter what. Now, if you do find people selling stuff for under the wrap value, then pretty much that's a gold mine, because a lot of people will not, unless the item or huge pet that you're looking at is deflating at that time. Then yes, people will sell it obviously below the wrap value. But most of the time, if you find anything under the wrap value, especially if it's like a huge pet, then it's pretty well worth buying. Except happy rocks. Happy rocks are a huge risk when it comes down to buying them under wrap value, because they usually are up and down 90% of the time and change every single hour. So I definitely don't recommend that. But when it comes down to anything else under the wrap value, I would definitely recommend buying it, but just make sure the deflation is not happening on that item or huge pet. Now, one thing you definitely got to be careful for is enchantments and potions. They're really not a great thing to buy under wrap value, unless it's like really under wrap value. I'm talking about like maybe 2-3 mil, 500k, or just something like that, somewhere around there. If it's really low under wrap value and you see people pretty much selling it the same exact way, deflation is obviously going to happen. But if you only find one person out of 20 or something selling it below that, then I would definitely recommend buying it. But the moral of this tip is always sell stuff above the actual wrap value. You'll make a lot more profit and you'll thank me later. Unless deflation is happening. If deflation is happening on that item or huge pet you're trying to sell, then I wouldn't recommend selling it above the wrap value. I'd recommend selling it on the wrap value or just a little bit below it to try to sell it as quick as possible. Now, the next tip that we're going to get into is how to get into a brand new server every time and stop joining the same server you are in or a friend is in over and over. Now, I get asked this question all the time and pretty much how to do it, and there's a couple ways to do it pretty easily, so let's get into it. Now, a lot of people say this and this gets really annoying, but they say when you join a friend over and over, you could just ask him to leave. Yes, you could, but he also could be AFK and you could just be wasting your time. So this is the best way to do it in my opinion and how I do it all the time. So what I pretty much do is go up here to the player list and I look for anyone that has been here for a long time or pretty much AFKing, and then I will just block them. Now remember, blocking them does absolutely nothing to them and you can unblock them super easily, especially if you're like me jumping servers over and over. You'll be able to clean out your block list super frequently. So all you gotta do is block somebody and swap servers, and I will never come back to the same server unless that blocked person leaves that server, and then it will take me back there. But other than that, you will never join that server again. As you can see right here, I'm in a brand new server. The same person I blocked is not here, and we are good to go. Now, another way you could do this without blocking people, if you feel like you're hurting their feelings or something, you could just go to the trading terminal and just snipe a random huge pet or item. Say I want a happy rock, it will teleport you to a brand new server that you were not just in. Now, yes, you could end up coming back to it, specifically if you're sniping the same huge over and over, or if that huge you're sniping is in there or item, then yes, you will come back. But most of the time you'll get into a brand new server. So there you go. That's pretty much how to not hurt someone's feelings, I guess, if you did block them, but blocking them is pretty much the best way. Now, the last and final tip I got for you guys is negotiating. Now, negotiating is super hard for a lot of people and really not easy to understand, but I'm going to make it super helpful for you guys and make it easy for you guys to understand so you can make it work. Now, negotiating doesn't always work, but it definitely could help you make more profit in certain situations. Now, for this example, I'm going to be selling my huge Jolly Narwhal. Now, my huge Jolly Narwhal goes for 6.31 on wrap, and I'm selling it for 7 million, which is totally understandable and reasonable because, well, that's what a lot of people do. But let's just say someone came up to my booth and sent me a trade because they want to offer on my huge Jolly Narwhal and not pay the full 7 million. Now, you got to be careful. Make sure to never sell your pet below the wrap value because you obviously want to make profit. So for this situation, let's just say someone trades me right now and they're like, hey, would you do 6.8 million for your Jolly Narwhal? Now, yes, that's a really great offer and pretty reasonable as well. But let's just say I want to try to get a little bit more profit out of that person. So all I gotta say is, hey, the lowest I'll do for this Jolly Narwhal is 6.9 million instead of 6.8. And right there, a lot of people usually just say, okay, I'll take it for 6.9. And boom, you sold it for 100k less than what you're actually putting it up for, but you also sold it for 100k more than what he was already offering you. So most of the time, you can negotiate someone into buying something a little bit higher than what they're offering, or just a little bit lower than what you're actually putting it up for. It's pretty much just trying to meet in the middle and make sure that you make as much profit as you possibly can. Now, when it comes down to ordinary items, if you get offer a little bit lower than what you're selling it for, even if it's above wrap value, that's pretty good to take in general. But when it comes down to huge pets, you could always get 100, 200k out of someone or even more. I've definitely had pets to where I would sell them for, let's say, 9 million, and then someone offered like 8.2 million, and I would say, nah, sorry, the lowest I would take for this is like 8.6 million, 8.7, and they'll usually just buy it right from there, or just buy it at your actual price depending on how high of a demand that huge or item is. That's pretty much it to negotiating. Hopefully this tip helped you. That's basically all the tips I got for you guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and hopefully you found it helpful. If you guys have any questions regarding these tips or Pet Sim 99 in general, then let me know in the comment section down below and I'll gladly answer any questions you guys have. Without further ado, this is the end of the video, so make sure to smash the like button to show me that you enjoyed it, click that subscribe button to support the channel, and click the notification bell to never miss an upload. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.